before, I was like, oh gosh, I'm 50. And then I was like, what happened to the 40s? And then my friends were like, let's have a party, let's do something. And then I was like, nah, I don't want to. I just don't want the. Nah.
Keanu Reeves is one of the most famous actors on the planet, yet he lives like an ordinary man. He rides the subway alone, gives away millions of dollars, and avoids the spotlight whenever he can. But behind his calm smile is a life filled with heartbreaking tragedy and unimaginable loss. Most people would have become bitter after going through what he endured. Keanu Reeves became kinder instead. And that might be the real reason the world respects him so much. Keanu Reeves is, without question, one of the most beloved and respected actors in Hollywood. In an industry often filled with ego, controversy, and carefully crafted public images, Keanu stands apart in a way that almost feels unreal. He is one of the very few celebrities about whom almost nobody has anything negative to say. Over the years, people have described him as humble, kind, generous, thoughtful, mysterious, and deeply human. While many actors spend their entire lives chasing attention and validation, Keanu Reeves became one of the most famous men on Earth and somehow managed to remain completely grounded. The world first saw him transform into a global icon through The Matrix, a film that changed modern cinema forever. Then, years later, he reinvented himself once again as the legendary assassin John Wick, a man so feared that stories were told about him killing enemies with nothing more than a pencil. Yet despite becoming one of the most recognizable faces in entertainment history, Keanu never embraced the glamorous celebrity lifestyle that usually comes with that level of fame. Unlike most Hollywood stars, he does not surround himself with bodyguards everywhere he goes. He does not constantly show off luxury cars, giant mansions, or expensive jewelry. In fact, Keanu has often been spotted riding the subway alone, walking quietly through the streets, sitting in parks by himself, or eating at ordinary restaurants without drawing attention to who he is. Millions of dollars sit in his bank account, yet he dresses like an average man. Sneakers, jeans, simple jackets, a regular watch, nothing about him screams superstar, and somehow that makes people admire him even more. There are countless stories online of strangers seeing Keanu Reeves in public and doing double takes because they cannot believe someone so famous is standing right beside them acting completely normal. He has mastered the rare ability to disappear in plain sight. In a world obsessed with a huge celebration, but Keanu, being Keanu, wanted nothing to do with the spotlight. Interestingly, the name Keanu roughly translates to cool breeze over the mountains in Hawaiian, and honestly, there may never have been a more fitting name for a person. However, early in his acting career, executives and agents believed his name sounded too foreign for Hollywood audiences. They advised him to change it if he wanted more acting opportunities. For a while, Keanu reluctantly attended auditions under names like Casey Reeves, but eventually, he made a decision that quietly revealed the kind of person he truly was. He changed it back. He refused to erase his identity simply to fit into Hollywood. Long before he became an action legend, Keanu Reeves developed an obsession with motorcycles. As a child growing up in Toronto, he would watch motorcycle gangs ride through the city every summer. To him, they represented freedom, rebellion, brotherhood, and independence. The sound of the engines, the confidence of the riders, the sense of adventure, it all fascinated him. That fascination never disappeared. Even today, motorcycles remain one of the greatest passions of his life. Keanu once admitted that when he goes too long without riding, he genuinely feels miserable. For him, motorcycles are more than a hobby, they are therapy. And surprisingly, acting was never his only artist. Outlet, Keanu is also a talented bass guitar player and co-founded the alternative rock band Dogstar, which still performs to this day. He is the kind of person who genuinely loves creating things simply because he enjoys the experience. Over the years, Keanu's reputation for kindness has become almost legendary. In 1997, he was photographed sitting on a sidewalk in West Hollywood, quietly sharing food and conversation with a homeless man. There were no cameras organized by publicists, no interviews, no social media campaign, just a human being treating another human being with dignity. Another famous story happened in 2011, when a woman accidentally backed her car into Keanu's parked motorcycle. Most celebrities would probably have exploded with anger or immediately demanded compensation. Keanu did the opposite. He calmly greeted the woman, inspected the damage, and told the police officer that if he could still start the bike, he would simply leave without filing any claims. Then he got on the motorcycle and drove away. That is who Keanu Reeves is. Ironically, his calm and compassionate personality becomes even more remarkable when you learn about his childhood. When Keanu was only 3 years old, his father abandoned the family. From that moment on, his life became unstable and constantly changing. His mother moved frequently, taking the family from Lebanon to Australia, then to New York, and eventually to Toronto, Canada, where Keanu spent most of his youth. During those years, he grew up around multiple stepfathers and constantly changing environments. His biological father later ended up in prison in Hawaii for drug-related crimes, creating an emotional distance that would remain throughout Keanu's life. The instability affected every part of his childhood. He attended 4 different high schools within 5 years and struggled academically due to dyslexia. School never felt like a place where he belonged. Yet despite all the chaos surrounding him, there was one person who became his emotional anchor, his younger sister, Kim. Keanu later described their relationship by saying, "It was the two of us against the world." Before acting entered his life, Keanu dreamed of becoming a professional ice hockey player. He loved the sport passionately and even hoped to one day play for the Canadian Olympic team. On the ice, he found discipline, purpose, and escape. But life had other plans. A serious injury ended his hockey ambitions, forcing him to reconsider his future. Around that same time, his sister encouraged him to explore acting. At 15 years old, he began taking acting classes, often driving for hours between Toronto and New York to pursue the craft. 5 years later, he landed one of his earliest film roles in Youngblood, where he played a hockey goalie alongside Patrick Swayze. It was a small beginning, but it marked the start of something much bigger. Like most struggling actors, Keanu's early career was filled with strange and humble jobs. He worked as a junior television reporter in Canada and once did a cheerful segment about teddy bears. He starred in commercials for Kellogg's and Coca-Cola, spending entire days pretending to be desperately thirsty while repeatedly drinking soda during endless takes. Eventually, he gained wider recognition through the goofy but unforgettable comedy Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. The film's ridiculous humor, lovable characters, and carefree energy turned it into a cult classic. Around the same time, he also played an adult trapped inside a teenager's body, showing early signs that he wanted to experiment with many different types of roles. Keanu never wanted to be limited. He wanted to try everything. But behind the growing fame, something far more important was about to enter his life. In 1990, while working on the film I Love You to Death, Keanu met River Phoenix. River was already considered one of the most gifted young actors of his generation. He had starred in films like Stand By Me and Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, and many believed he was destined to become one of Hollywood's greatest stars. The friendship between Keanu and River became instant and deeply meaningful. They balanced each other perfectly, different personalities, connected by mutual respect and understanding. Their bond became especially important during the making of My Own Private Idaho. River's agents initially rejected the screenplay without even finishing it. Determined to convince his friend, Keanu personally rode his motorcycle across thousands of kilometers from Canada to Florida during Christmas just to hand River the script himself. That single act perfectly captured Keanu's loyalty. River eventually accepted the role, and the film became critically acclaimed. Although River received much of the praise and even won major awards, Keanu never seemed jealous. He admired his friend completely. Then tragedy struck. On October 31, 1993, River Phoenix died from a drug overdose outside the Viper Room in Hollywood. He was only 23 years old. For Keanu, the loss was devastating. He rarely speaks publicly about River, but years later he quietly admitted that he still thought about him often. River was not just another actor to him, he was family. As Keanu tried to move forward, his own career continued rising. He starred in films like Point Break and Speed, officially transforming into one of Hollywood's biggest action stars. But success never changed the way he treated people. During the production of The Devil's Advocate, Keanu desperately wanted Al Pacino to play the villain. When the studio hesitated because of salary issues, Keanu voluntarily gave up millions of dollars from his own paycheck to make it happen. Years later, he did something similar again by taking another major pay cut so that Gene Hackman could join the replacements. Most actors fight to maximize their earnings. Keanu repeatedly sacrificed his own money to improve the films themselves. Still, despite his popularity, critics often mocked his performances during the 1990s. Some labeled him wooden, amateur, or emotionless. For years, Hollywood seemed uncertain about what to do with him. Then came The Matrix. In 1999, Keanu Reeves accepted the role of Neo, a decision that would permanently change cinema history. Ironically, many major stars rejected the role before it reached him. Will Smith turned it down. Brad Pitt passed on it. Nicolas Cage declined because of family commitments. Johnny Depp was considered but ultimately never accepted. But in hindsight, it feels impossible to imagine anyone else playing Neo. What audiences did not know at the time was that Keanu was secretly dealing with serious physical pain. During the intense martial arts training for The Matrix, he suffered spinal problems that caused numbness in his hands and affected his balance. Doctors eventually inserted a metal plate into his neck. Yet Keanu refused to quit. He trained in martial arts while wearing a neck brace and never publicly complained because he feared losing the opportunity. That level of dedication became part of what made Neo believable. The Matrix exploded into a global phenomenon. Its philosophical themes, revolutionary action scenes, and groundbreaking visual effects changed science fiction forever. The film earned hundreds of millions of dollars, and Keanu himself made an enormous fortune. But once again, he surprised everyone. Rather than keeping all the money for himself, Keanu quietly redirected tens of millions of dollars to the film's special effects teams and costume designers, the people he believed truly helped build the world of the movie. When asked why he did it, his answer was incredibly simple. Because I wanted to. He also bought Harley-Davidson motorcycles for members of the stunt team as a thank you gift. That generosity became a pattern throughout his life. But while The Matrix made Keanu one of the biggest stars on Earth, his private life was collapsing. In 1998, Keanu met Jennifer Syme at a party connected to his band. The two quickly fell deeply in love and moved in together. Soon afterward, Jennifer became pregnant with their daughter, whom they planned to name Ava Archer Reeves. Then, just before Christmas in 1999, tragedy struck again. After 8 months of pregnancy, their daughter was stillborn. The loss shattered them both. Grief consumed the relationship, and Keanu and Jennifer eventually separated. Then, in 2001, Jennifer herself died in a car accident at only 28 years old. Keanu returned to the cemetery where they had buried their daughter. The pain became almost unimaginable. Years later, Keanu spoke honestly about grief, saying that it never truly disappears. It only changes shape. When the people you love are gone, a part of you remains alone forever. And as if all of that were not enough, his sister Kim spent years battling cancer during the same period. Keanu devoted himself to caring for her. He cooked meals for her, sat beside her during treatments, comforted her during unbearable pain, and reportedly reorganized major parts of his life just to stay close to her. While the world saw an action hero, Keanu was quietly spending nights holding his sister's hand through suffering. Then came one of the internet's most famous images. In 2010, Keanu was photographed sitting alone on a bench in New York, quietly eating a sandwich and looking deeply lost in thought. The image went viral almost instantly. People turned it into endless memes and jokes online. Surprisingly, Keanu himself found it funny. That ability to laugh despite carrying enormous emotional pain says a lot about his character. By the mid-2000s, his career had slowed down. After the Matrix trilogy ended, Hollywood seemed uncertain about his future. Some films succeeded, others failed, and many assumed his time as a major action star was over. But audiences never stopped loving him. Stories about his generosity continued spreading everywhere. Crew members described him helping workers carry heavy equipment on film sets. During the filming of The Lake House, he reportedly overheard a crew member crying because financial problems threatened his home. Keanu quietly deposited the money needed to help. In another story, after a flight emergency stranded passengers, Keanu joined them on a long bus ride and casually entertained everyone during the trip like an ordinary traveler. Then at 50 years old, Keanu Reeves shocked Hollywood once again. John Wick arrived. The premise sounded absurdly simple. A retired assassin seeks revenge after criminals kill his dog. Yet the film became something much greater. John Wick was stylish, brutal, elegant, and unforgettable. The character felt authentic because Keanu trained obsessively for the role. He spent countless hours mastering firearms, martial arts, tactical movement, and stunt choreography. In fact, Keanu became so skilled with weapons that professional shooters were genuinely impressed by his speed and precision. But what truly made John Wick resonate emotionally was the grief beneath the violence. Keanu understood loss better than most people ever could. The sorrow driving John Wick was not simply acting. It came from somewhere real. Keanu later explained that grief is deeply connected to love. If you grieve someone, it means they mattered profoundly, and according to him, that pain never fully disappears. 4 John Wick films later, the franchise has earned over $1 billion worldwide and re-established Keanu Reeves as one of the greatest action stars in cinematic history. Yet even after all that success, he remained the same person. He gifted engraved Rolex watches to members of his stunt team. He continued helping strangers. He continued avoiding celebrity culture. Other actors constantly praise him as one of the kindest people they have ever met. Even Jim Carrey once described Keanu as the kind of man every man aspires to be. In 2019, fans even launched a massive campaign demanding that Keanu be named Time magazine's Person of the Year. But perhaps the most fascinating thing about Keanu Reeves is that he never seems interested in proving anything. He does not chase attention. He does not demand validation. He does not try to appear perfect. He simply lives quietly, creates art, rides motorcycles, and treats people with respect. After more than 40 years in Hollywood, Keanu Reeves has earned hundreds of millions of dollars, starred in 2 of the most iconic film franchises of all time, and survived unimaginable personal loss. Yet somehow, none of it destroyed his humanity. And maybe that is why people admire him so much. Because when life hurts most people, they often become colder, more bitter, more selfish. Keanu Reeves went through pain and chose compassion instead. There is a famous idea that separates heroes from villains with one simple difference: how they respond to suffering. A villain says, "The world hurt me, so I will hurt the world back." A hero says, "The world hurt me, and I refuse to let others suffer the same way." Keanu Reeves embodies that second path. Despite everything he has endured, he still walks among ordinary people with humility. He still chooses kindness when he has every excuse not to. And maybe that is the real reason the world loves him. Not because he played Neo. Not because he played John Wick. Not because he is rich or famous. But because he reminds people that no matter how difficult life becomes, goodness is still a choice. In a world obsessed with fame, Keanu Reeves became something far more rare. A genuinely good man. Keanu Reeves proves that pain does not have to destroy a person. No matter how hard life became, he never stopped choosing kindness, humility, and compassion. In a world obsessed with fame and ego, that makes him truly rare. So instead of just admiring people like Keanu Reeves, maybe we should try to learn from them. Because sometimes the strongest people are the ones who stay good after life gives them every reason not to. And honestly, the world could use more people like that.